Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. There are very serious concerns that the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, is actually insolvent and is going to collapse. Now, I want to be clear, very clear right here at the outset of the video. I'm not stating that is the case. I'm not convinced that is the case. But there are people, for their reasons, some of which I'll highlight in this video, believe that things are not right at Binance, including some very well-known people. In fact, Jesse Powell, who was one of the founders of cryptocurrency exchange Kraken, even he thinks that the way that Binance is going to market, or at least purportedly, is exactly the same bill of sales that FTX was sharing with everybody. So that doesn't sound good, and we've seen an insane amount of crypto fly off the shelves of Binance. I mean, we're talking to the tune of, the latest number I saw anyway, was Binance has seen total net outflows of over $3.6 billion with a B. Now, I remember that, unless my memory's failing me, my recollection is that when FTX collapsed, it was after $5 billion worth of outflows on fears that FTX was insolvent. And it turns out FTX actually was insolvent. Now, for Binance, I don't know if, even if we end up hitting that $5 billion mark, I don't even know if that would be enough. If they're insolvent, to what degree would they be insolvent? If so. So, look, this isn't to scare anybody. It's more like a call to action to, like, self-custody. Like, my position personally is the vast majority of humans would do right by themselves to only have cryptocurrency on an exchange if they're planning to, in the short term, be, selling, perhaps. If they're traders, maybe, that might make sense. But if you're just using it as storage, this should be a call to action here. And we got to talk. So again, I want to be clear. This is not to stir up fear, but this has to be discussed. This is one of the biggest stories in the world of crypto today. But before sharing some specifics with you, I do want to be clear. I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And I don't feel like reading the article that's on your screen. It's not necessary, but I want to make the point that people are responding to what's happening here. Now, in this case, whales are being discussed in this article from You Today, and it notes that an astonishing 300 million XRP has been moved from Binance. So it's not just Bitcoin that's skedaddling off to greener pastures. And if you look right here, you want some proof that people are reacting to these concerns of Binance's potential insolvency. Well, for those of you that can look, you can see it on your screen here. This is XRP scan, and the chart in the middle of the screen is the number of new accounts activated. I changed the date range just going back to the beginning of May because shortly after is when we had the FTX collapse. And you can see when we had major spikes in new accounts, and there certainly were some after Luna and then Celsius and Voyager. But you can see with FTX, my gosh, by the time we got to November 13th, it was almost 10,000 new accounts in one single day. And then it kind of, tapered off a bit, but still, we never got back down to the lows of where we were normally seeing closer to, like, call it 1,000 on the high end, 1,500 new accounts per day. We got down to as low as an outlier. So there's one day, December 10th, we got down to about a little shy of 1,700. But other than that, we were basically in the, like, 2,200 range. Here's on December 4th, over 3,000 new accounts. Look what happened today, though. The day's not even over, and we've already seen 4,839 new accounts. XRP is fleeing from Binance. And, it's not necessarily exclusively Binance. To me, this seems like a serious call to action. So I'm sure that, it resulted in a lot of people being like, maybe I should take some self-custody here. Although I wouldn't be surprised if most of this was specifically XRP, specifically fleeing Binance. And, there's Binance US too. There's a separate cryptocurrency exchange for United States citizens because there's different regulatory state of things in the United States. And even though it is, so far as I know, completely a separate entity, at least to the degree that it would need to be from a regulatory perspective, don't forget that that's what was touted for FTX US, because FTX was an exchange outside the United States, but there's also FTX US, supposed to comply with United States regulations. Well, the FTX US also became part of the FTX bankruptcy. And the guy that's in charge of, I forget his name, he's the guy that did the Enron. He was in charge of Enron after Enron collapsed to after it was found to be a fraud. And it was his job to figure out what the hell went wrong and sort things out. Well, he's the one that's in charge of this whole debacle. And from what he said, from what I've seen today, he says that FTX US was not solvent, despite what SBF said about it actually being solvent when it shut down. Surprise, surprise, right? Look at this, though. So here's a headline from the Daily Huddle. Binance sees more than $3.6 billion in net withdrawals as world's largest crypto exchange gets stress test. The largest crypto exchange by trading volume is undergoing a stress test as reports surface that Binance may be under U.S. investigation. Yesterday, it was reported that Binance and its CEO Changpeng Zhao, or CZ for short, were under federal investigation for potential money laundering violations. Now, a crypto data analyzer Nansen says over $3 billion in net capital has been withdrawn from Binance over the last 7 days. And then if you get... Actually, let me share with you this. So here's what CZ, founder and CEO of Binance, had to say earlier today at 8:49 a.m. Central Standard Time on December 13th. He wrote, "We saw some withdrawals today, net 1.14 billion-ish." So again, just pause to be clear. That was just for today. But again, if you look over the time period aside, I think it was 7 days in the article I just read, over 3.6 billion. So again, we saw some withdrawals today, net 1.14 billion-ish. We have seen this before. Some days we have net withdrawals. Some days we have net deposits. Business as usual for sure. I actually think it is a good idea to stress test withdrawals on each centralized exchange on a rotating basis. It costs some network fees to run these tests, but keeps the industry healthy. Exchange business is simple. Okay, so hopefully, and again, I don't have any insider information, so I can't tell. All I can do is basically put out a public service announcement, which is get your damn crypto off an exchange if you're not trading. Frankly, but I can't speak to whether or not this, because think about it. Sam Bankman-Fried of FTX, before the bankruptcy, as there was a run on the bank, meaning it's an exchange, but it's still called a bank run, as people were getting all their crypto as much as they could off of FTX before it collapsed. Sam Bankman-Fried said everything was fine too. So you can't go by the reassuring messages from CZ, and nothing against him whatsoever. That's not the point of me saying that. I'm saying you can't trust centralized exchanges even if they're completely legitimate and fully backed. You shouldn't, because you don't know for sure. And yes, there's risk to holding crypto yourself. Like, you could lose your own private key, fine. So put safeguards in place to minimize the risk of that. Just mitigate the risk. But to me, I'd rather take on that risk than the risk of a centralized exchange, which is outside of my control. To me, it's a no-brainer. And so then there's this... I don't feel like I need to go through the specifics of this for the purpose of this video, but this is an article from yesterday. CZ and Binance under federal investigation for potential money laundering violations. What I would like to actually highlight is what Jesse Powell had to say. And again, Jesse Powell, the founder of cryptocurrency exchange Kraken. And he said the following about Binance specifically after Binance shared their proof of reserves report. So Binance, they did put out this report trying to make everybody feel all good and happy. Well, Jesse Powell, founder of Kraken, he's not really buying it. And here's the quote from Jesse Powell. "Big red flag for me is that this seems to be more of an attempt at proving collateral rather than proving reserves. They even admit to being insolvent with regard to actual assets owed versus tokens controlled. The collateral accounting trick is exactly how FTX played solvent as well," end quote. I'm just reporting this stuff here. Again, I swear on my life, the purpose is not to scare anybody, but I think it's a reasonable time to put out the public service announcement and use this as a call to action, because if Binance is solvent and they've done nothing wrong, it will not harm them to take your crypto off of their exchange. In fact, if anything, if people gain confidence, say that there's the run on Binance, and then people are like, well, it didn't collapse. Okay, I guess we can put our crypto back on there. Well, Binance will come ahead because people, for a couple of reasons. First of all, people will trust Binance further. And second of all, they'll have made a bunch of fees in the process. So, like, for them, it's a win-win as long as they're actually good faith operators. And I don't have a reason to actually believe, but the proof of reserve stuff, I've expressed my skepticism just in a general sense the way that this is approaching, because if you're just showing tokens are there, what about the liabilities, which is partly what I think Jesse Powell's getting at here. It doesn't necessarily prove anything, or at least not enough for me to think, oh yeah, there's no problem here for sure. Not with 100% certainty. And this is the definition of a bank run. Mind you that a bank run can happen on a cryptocurrency exchange. That's what we call it. So it is what it is. All words are made up by humans. And a bank run doesn't mean that the end result of the bank run is that the bank, or in this case, an exchange, collapses. It's not always the case. Here it is from Investopedia. What is a bank run? A bank run occurs when a large number of customers of a bank or other financial institution withdraw their deposits simultaneously over concerns of the bank's solvency. So again, this is an actual bank run on Binance. It doesn't mean that Binance is insolvent necessarily, and it doesn't mean that they're going to collapse, but this is the definition of a bank run. It's on the fear that there might be a solvency issue. And take a look at this. So here's Dylan LeClaire with 282,000 followers on Twitter, and he shared something from somebody who I'm not familiar with, who goes by the name at AP_ArchPublic. His name is Andrew. And there is a private back and forth on Twitter. This is the direct messages between the two. And here you can see Andrew, who's on the gray text on the left, or the gray boxes on the left, and then Dylan LeClaire is the blue box on the right. Well, Andrew, who, what did his profile say? Founder X3 Finance Markets and Blockchain. He wrote the following to Dylan LeClaire. Let people know to get their funds off Binance. Use my tweet if you want to, or create your own. People need to know. Executives bailing, institutional jump capital fleeing, and charges coming. Just a heads up that a bunch of Binance stories are gonna hit the tape this week. Reporters hitting me up constantly. And then Dylan LeClaire said, really, can you give me any more info? Can keep anonymous if you'd like. Andrew says, they've confirmed leadership losses. Accounting contacts have serious issues with their proof of reserves. No reporter can confirm or identify the parent or ownership structure of Binance, and can't track down a meaningful listing of executives beyond CZ. All items and stories that are set to come out from outlets like CNBC, Bloomberg, and TruthNow. So I'll just pause to say here. If this is accurate, and these entities have looked into the proof of reserve claims and are finding red flags, and it's not just Jesse Powell, that's alarming. Y'all better just, you do what you want, fine. You do what you want. I'm just putting out the warning, and hopefully it's a big nothing. I hope it's a big nothing. I hope Binance is solvent. I don't have inside information. I do not know. But I'm going to pay attention when somebody's saying the building's on fire. You better believe I'm going to investigate that a little bit and try and find out if it's true, And so that's why, for me, my gosh, I can't imagine being aware of this and keeping anything on Binance or Binance US. I can't imagine doing it. And again, maybe they're perfectly fine, in which case we'll find out in short order, and there you go. You can keep on using them then. But I'm just concerned, if Binance is insolvent, don't assume that Binance US is in the clear either. I'm just saying, we already went through this with FTX and FTX US. And anyway, so these are direct private messages, but Dylan LeClaire did get permission from Andrew to share them. The blockchain backer also shared this, and he's actually the reason that I came across that from Dylan LeClaire, so shout out and credit to the blockchain backer. He shared that and wrote, I'm not for causing panic over things I have zero way to corroborate, but there's big outflows from Binance confirmed by CZ. Keeping coins on exchanges is dicey in this environment, and right now, eyes are on Binance. Self-custody heart emoji. Is what it is, folks. I'm just playing the role of messenger. You do what you will with it, but there's a lot of your fellow XRP holders out there who have heeded the warning and clearly set up new accounts, as proven if you just go to xrpscan.com. Massive increase in accounts. And for people that don't have time to set up their own self-custody accounts today, I still don't understand why anybody wouldn't move their XRP to at least another exchange off of Binance or Binance US. Like, to me, that's just my personal opinion. You all do whatever you want. It's not up to me. We're all adults here, but my gosh. I'll stop here. Let me know what you think about all of this. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but this is worth a talk. There's some very serious concerns and accusations about Binance, the world's largest exchange. And on the heels of what happened with FTX, if this ends up being true, which is a big if, admittedly, I'm not convinced that they're insolvent, but they could be. If they, even the fact that I'm saying that sentence, if they are, the degree to which this is going to just hammer crypto, I don't know how to overstate how severely terrible that's going to be. On top of the actual real harm, just think about what it would mean for price action. Wow. We'll see. And look, crypto's not going to cease to exist. Nothing like, well, I won't say nothing. Crypto markets won't go to zero. That's my personal belief. So if the worst happens and my net worth takes another hit because I hold a ton of crypto, fine. Twist my arm, I'll buy more. But it's going to be a very scary time for a lot of people. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Family Sedan.